So let's move on. We have another review, Michael.
Yeah, so the next review is as by request. If you're just joining us right now into this review, we had stated earlier that this was one of the albums that we had requested the most. So a couple weeks back, I think at this point, when Lana Del Rey had released Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, we had reviewed that record. Then we had a bunch of requests to review Norman effing Rockwell, so we reviewed that. And then the next one on the list is the one that we're going to be doing today. It is her third studio album. It is 14 songs, 1 hour and 5 minutes long. Granted, it is the deluxe version that we're talking about, so there's 13 bonus tracks tagged onto this, but nonetheless, it is her third album, Ultraviolence. It's mainly produced by Dana Arbach of the Black Keys. Greg Kirsten's in there. There's a couple other producers in there, but this is really sort of like the brainchild of Lana Del Rey and Dan Arbach, who I don't think ever really planned on working together for this album. Lana Del Rey had released her second record, wasn't even really paying any mind to the idea of releasing a third album, and then somehow her and Dan Arbach had crossed paths. They were like, hey, we should just get into the studio and try to, like, you know, mess around and see what comes out. And they ended up coming out with an entire album, an hour and 5 minute long record. So, what did you think of this? Because I just want to like to set the tone, right? So we are not really Lana. I mean, we're Lana Del Rey fans. But going into Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, we weren't really big Lana Del Rey fans. So it's interesting that like we started with the latest thing, where at this point she has got her diehard fans who she's had like really from around this period, you know, second, third album, and then everything that happened after that. Like, so it's interesting starting with the new and kind of going back every now and again, and it's been an interesting experiment.
It has.
Musical experiment.
And I think that's why I think a lot of people have been enjoying watching these reviews to that. And going all the way back to, we don't listen to, like, I won't listen to the Lana Del Rey album that, like, I have not reviewed yet now because, like, I haven't really been jumping around and listening to the back catalog until we are ready to do a review because I really want those fresh ears on it so I can, like,
same here.
Give you guys, like, an honest opinion of what I thought this album was for me in the context of right now and fresh. So, these are first listens, and this is the review of Ultraviolence from Get in the Garage. I thought this album played like Lana Del Rey's rock album, or more like classic rock. It had a lot of the wah-wah guitar in it, and like the Laurel Canyon, Fleetwood Mac vibes going on. It definitely was like the start of this. There's a little bit of allusion to the classic rock artists that are going to get referenced in the later albums we have listened to, like on Norman Rockwell. I really did like this album on first listen. Having said that, it might be my least favorite one we've listened to so far, but it's still a very strong release, and I think all the seeds for what I really do like in the later albums all came from in here, and you can definitely tell. Yeah,
this is clearly, like, now that because like I said, like, we started with Did You Know There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, you know, so we're now, our introduction to Lana Del Rey is, like, the sort of, like, mature, very talented, like, she knows who she is and what she does, and she does it very well, songwriter. So it was fun going back to this because you go like, oh, all right, cool. Like, I see
the
like
seeds of where, like, that this other song
it's
later.
It's kind of like, and shout out to, I don't know if they're listening, but it's kind of like Pink Floyd, where you, like, go back and you, like, listen to metal and you listen to echoes and you go like, oh, they're ready for Dark Side. You know, like, it's that thing where you, like, go back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that thing. It's, you know, so I think you get a lot of that here. There's a lot of great songs on here. It is traditionally a Lana Del Rey record, and that's one thing that seems to have, like, never really changed with as how she writes albums and stuff, where everything is very much long form.
A lot of, like, ballad mid-tempo things on here. It seems like the, like, instrumentation and stylizing of, like, how that kind of form is worked in is, like, the theme of a lot of this album. Like I said, this one's more like classic rock, where the new album, There's a Tunnel, is very piano driven and like all very much piano kind of songs in that feel. So not a lot of piano stuff on here, more of like a dirges and a lot of like build-ups.
And you hear a lot of that Dan Arbach influence in there. Like there's definitely some small little moments, like if we're gonna like start getting into it, like Sad Girl, for example, kind of like if I didn't know that Dan Arbach had an influence over this record, I could put on that song Sad Girl and be like, that sounds a little Black Keys-ish. You know, like there's a lot of that kind of stuff sort of peppered in all over here, but it's not, what I like about it is it's just done in such good taste. Like it's not like Dan Arbach comes in like, you know, like guns a-blazing with like the crazy fuzzed out guitar and just kind of is like, I'm on this record too, you know. Like you can tell like he takes a back seat. He's clearly like helping with songwriting and production and all that kind of stuff, and he's just kind of like peppering in where he needs to pepper in. Like there's a lot of great stuff.
Let's talk about my favorite song on this record, which I feel is like the production on is stands out to me in a lot of ways. West Coast on this record, the slow up chorus where it mimics "And I Love Her" by the Beatles. Dum 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 dum, I gave her all my love.
Yeah.
So the dum 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 dum, and then it goes into this very dramatic chorus. The Parliament burning in his hand.
Yeah.
Great cigarette reference.
Fantastic.
All you smokers out there, you reunite. So it, like that lyric is like really great, and then it references Edge of 17, where she goes like "Move, baby, move," and it's just for me like the use of it, like interpolation, and the use of the Beatles in the way, and again she's talking about the love and like this, and I love her, right? Just that, the thought of that song and all the references right before you get into the chorus of like the burn down, and then the Edge of 17, everything that means to like, you know, that song of being a lover and everything. So I think she uses it so like she uses interpolation and how would you say this? Because like, and I love her is not interpolation, but it kind of is in the same way.
It's that thing. It's like that. Isn't there that saying like the great artists don't like mimic, they steal directly. And it's like, but it's literally that, but it's not an obscene way. It's not. You're not like offended by it. You're just like, oh shit, she's doing the Beatles thing. Like that's so cool, you know.
And then takes it all, and what's the end of that song is the Dr. Dre,
the
G-Funk synth over the top.
I know,
which is
it's so great,
so West Coast.
And I loved the thing to talk to that song. I loved how she kind of A-B'd. She went Brooklyn Baby first and then went to the West Coast, which I thought was so cool. And Brooklyn Baby is like this song that's kind of like dogging on like the Brooklyn hipster, like, he's playing his guitar while I sing Lou Reed, and like I'm hanging out with the Beatniks, and like all those types of lyrics and stuff too, where I'm like, oh, this is so great. Like, because it's for me, okay, so when I like am looking up the album and kind of getting into it, so everybody by now knows, but I didn't because you know, I hadn't heard it, but Brooklyn Baby is entirely sarcastic and making fun of the Brooklyn hipster that was very much like is like in its like heyday, I would say, when this album was released back in 2014, right? Like the Brooklyn like the
that was like
of...
coming out of like that was like the big Lumineers, or you know what I mean?
Everyone's wearing like craft boots with cuff denim jeans and drinking craft beer with big beards.
So for me, I'm like Bob Dylan. This is Bob Dylan going, I don't write protest songs.
Yeah, right.
You know, and people are like, what about blow it? You know, he's like, I don't do that. Whatever you think I do, I don't do that. It's the opposite. So it's the reaction to her getting completely dismissed in the media and not like taking out of context and not taking her words for her artistry in a way that I think was very fair. I think she went back and said, I'm just going to be the provocateur now and kind of write these, you know, whatever you think it is, it isn't, and that whatever that is. And for me, that's Bob Dylan all day, and it's what makes Bob Dylan a great artist. That's his artistry, is the mystique and mystery and the, you know, is it true, is it false, that whole thing. And I like the birth of that on here. Though she did give up the buck, what it's about. Usually, it's pretty fun to listen to, and it's kind of fun to, you know, playing that. I love the hydroponic weed line.
Yeah, the hydroponic weed line is great. Yeah, it's funny because it's like you look at this sort of an album, and like although, you know, because we've hit certain touchstones throughout the discography, and although you can see that there is very clear sort of like growth as far as the songwriter goes and all that stuff, she's always been a great wordsmith, and she's a fantastic, fantastic songwriter. But you're just watching the evolution of an already great songwriter, you know? One of my song highlights is the song Shades of Cool, which is so great because it's got that noir film sort of spy movie sort of soundtrack vibe. I think it's the only song that's in 3/4, which is a waltz. So it's in 3, so it gives you like this sort of different kind of like feel altogether to the way the song is. And same with like the preceding song Ultraviolence, there's that great Dan Arbach sort of like wah 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 wah, like wah wah guitar, which I really like because as like if you were a listener to Lana Del Rey, one thing that she's really good at doing is like there's this like cohesive thing where she kind of like has these threads that she sort of like threads through all of her songs. So like even if you're on like if it's like a 14-track song, you know, if you're on song 2 you hear something, and if you're on song 10 you hear something that like is like, oh, I've already heard this in this album already. So I like
the
that
wah-wah guitar.
The wah-wah guitar.
Yeah,
right. That's what I mean. And I love that though, because it added to the idea that this is a themed record. Like clearly there are themes, and you know,
whenever she's talking about the man.
Yeah,
it's the wah-wah, right?
Yeah,
that's what I noticed. I was like, whenever she's like kind of like talking or getting like really like into it in like a relationship thing, even though like West Coast, it might be about like a cult leader or whatever, it's still that love dynamic, that guy in there.
Yeah.
There's all that, or actually Ultraviolence rather is about that. West Coast is about a lover, but yeah, Shades of Cool, and it has that chorus. That chorus in Shades of Cool is so heartbreaking. It's just reaches all those like real tender notes in the melody.
He's the unfixable man. That's the whole thing. It's the, you know,
and it's like it's that kind of emotion that I go for, because the song is mid-tempo, but when she gets you to the chorus, she'll build you up and then crumble it all down, and then build him back up in the verse again, and then crumble him back down in the chorus. Shades of Cool, and even lyrically, My Baby's blue, and then all the blue things, and he's cool. I love it. Sad Girl, which is the birth of the sad girl. It's sad. It's been sad girl summer ever since this album came out, apparently. Because like that's been the vibe. Like Soccer Mommy is like the last year. That was like the sad girl thing for the summer for me, and it really is that vibe. And I like how she kind of like is playing and poking fun of the imagery that she knows she has.
Yeah.
And worked with it. And as soon as you call me the sad girl, well, now I wrote a song about it and I own it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like that.
For sure.
That's the artistry for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I could just highlight too, as far as like her lyrical ability and like the imagery that she uses, a song that I absolutely adored on this record was a song called "Old Money." Track listing wise, I'm not sure where it's
second to last song.
Second to last song. Thank you. But I mean, Blue Hydrangea, Cold Cash Divine, Cashmere Cologne and White Sunshine, Red Racing Cars, Sunset and Vine. The kids were young and pretty. Where have you been? Where did you go? Those summer nights seem so long ago. And so is the girl you used to call the Queen of New York City. But if you send for me, you know I'll come. And if you call for me, you know I'll run. It's like, this is Bob Dylan stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is great lyricism and writing. And it's like, it's just so fantastic, man. It's just so incredible.
And I think obviously everybody, that is like a Dylan head. If you're a Dylan head, you know. And if you're not, you're just like, whatever. All the people are like, well, you don't get it. It's not for you. But it does this. It's like again, I've referenced it, but it does the same thing. And the media, is gonna go for the more like outlandish, interesting thing, and then skip over the completely songwriter of her generation. It's not, for me, it's not a competition. The more we go back and listen to all these albums, the more you can see her contemporaries are clearly very incredibly influenced her by her in the moment, and then react to it afterwards. And she already seems ahead of the game, especially by production and songwriting. It's
that thing where it's like, if you're not a Lana Del Rey fan, she is your favorite musician's favorite musician.
I think so.
That's what it is, man.
It's especially more into and it seems like she's billed as a pop artist, but the more we're doing this, the clearer I see that she was never a pop artist and is a is just more of like that legacy kind of artist that exists in a mature space. And if we're going to talk about like the contemporaries of the time, stealing and all that, we should talk about one of the more controversial tracks on this record, Fucked My Way to the Top, which is a song which, when she was interviewed about what is the song about, responded with saying, this is about another pop star who was putting me down in the media and kind of saying like, oh, you're going a little bit too far with your vote, like your lyrics and the way you put yourself out there. And she responded with that sentiment, which I just said. And I think it's interesting. It's a real stab. It's real. It's a real right for the throat. Everybody speculates that this song is about Lorde, so that is interesting to hear. And she also claimed in that interview that the person, which was unnamed, did kind of jack her style at that too. And, I'm not going to front, it's probably more true than it's not.
Yeah.
And whether it is Lorde or not, that's what all the Lana Del Rey fans have said. So if you think otherwise or have some pointing information, please leave it in the comments, because I like me some good drama. But that song for me, even though it was a beef song, well written.
Yeah,
and,
well, yeah.
And for me, I was just like, okay. And that song "Old Money" that you just referenced to, her writing about her family connection and in her life, in her songs, and in her albums, that I think is one of those things that really works for me on here too. Did we talk about the title track, Ultraviolence?
We did not.
I like Ultraviolence. It's more of like a steamy kind of thing. It didn't like blow my mind. It wasn't my favorite thing on this record, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't like it as much as the preceding song, Cruel World.
Which is the longest track on the album too. I believe at 6 minutes and 39 seconds long. Yeah.
Which was kind of like, I don't know if there's a long song like an album before this, so let me know if there is. But like, it's the start of the A&W, the 11 minutes like kind of anthems. That one's like 7 minutes. I think this is an 11-minute song on Norman Rockwell.
Yep.
So like, it's the start of like the long stretched out like vibey epics, which I really, really like, because she's just like, now I'm just gonna make this a whole thing, because it's a vibe, and it's so much better than like 5 minutes of it is 7 minutes of it. Just make it super long.
Well, and it's like, it's clearly like an introduction to the album. You know what I mean? It's like the curtains draw back, and you are now in Lana Del Rey's world. You know what I mean? And it has that thing, because it's. It immediately launches into the world, and there's all this space, and it sounds vast. Like, everything just sounds so vast, and it really sets the tone.
How about the lyric, "You're young, wild, free, dancing circles around me"? I'm like, ooh, that's one of the fucking best lyrics I've heard in a long time.
And to come out the gate with that,
in the melody she sings in it too, like young and wild. And it's so.
And that's another thing too. Her singing chops on this record are absolutely incredible, because she can bring it down to a whisper. She can go loud. She does. Her dynamics are incredible. The way that she enunciates words is very interesting too. Like, she'll very delicately like pronounce like a CH consonant, like touch.
Oh, I love.
She'll give you that stuff,
I believe it's in the song West Coast, where she says, he calls for me and not for you, which is like, when the way she says it is very like purposely said in the way she says it, and like enunciates the words. So it's shit like that.
Yeah, man, it is good. Another song that I really loved, since we're going down the rabbit hole, might as well. "The Other Woman" was another song that I thought was fantastic.
The cover. Did you not know?
Oh, I did not know.
This song, "The Other Woman," is a Nina Simone. I don't believe Nina Simone wrote it, but Nina Simone popularized the tune, and is a jazz kind of standard at this point. So she purposely was like, that's where this album ends for me, is "The Other Woman." And even she's like, that the bonus tracks, all that stuff, she's that's fun and great and all that, but it's not. The album is definitely sectioned off at "The Other Woman," and she wanted to like very much make a point of that.
Are the lyrics the same? It's a true cover?
Yes, it's like a spot on cover of it, and I thought it was incredibly well done. throws out like the jazz, all that jazz kind of stuff that's thrown out lyrically through the album, even in like Brooklyn Baby, where she references like having the jazz collection, and all that's kind of brought out in theme in The Other Woman, and especially like what that song is about. It's a classic song. I think she uses it in a modern sense and tries to like bring it into like a new fashion. I don't know if like, cause like if we're gonna get into it a little more, this might be like one of those things where people kind of like are shouting out like, you can't cover that song because like, but it's a beautiful use of the song. I didn't feel that way at all. I was just like, oh, this is a great song that I haven't heard in a while because I hadn't put on that Nina Simone record.
Yep.
I think it themed the album really well, and you didn't even know it was a cover, so it fit perfectly.
Yeah, I had no idea.
If you had no idea it was a cover, you were like, great.
I will say the only thing it was just because with the song Old Money, it's sort of like, you ever see that meme where it's like there's a bus and then the train slams into the bus? Like, I felt like that as far as the way it played, because The Other Woman kind of comes in like out of nowhere. Like you can kind of, because she can get so quiet, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, what is this? You know? But then I obviously listened to the song itself and I was like, this is a fantastic tune, you know? I mean,
I thought it was good. I didn't like, I didn't feel like any of like it was inappropriate or anything like that. I liked it. It was a good way to end the album, and I thought kind of gave way to like what she's like listening to and her sensibility.
Sure.
So.
But yeah, and really, man, like every other song, we didn't cover every single song on this, but Money, Power, Glory, great. Pretty When You Cry, great. The bonus tracks, Black Beauty, Guns N' Roses, and Florida Kilos, cool songs. I didn't love Guns N' Roses, and even Florida Kilos, I wasn't like crazy about it, but I mean, it's a fantastic record.
Kind of some cool B-side stuff. More or less.
and it felt like that. Like it played like that, where I was like, oh, these are like cool B-side things.
Especially
it's not
because like I saw she's like, it ends here, like that's the album. You know, in the modern era, everything gets like a deluxe re-release and all that stuff. But Ultraviolence as it is, ending with The Other Woman. Let's get to ratings. What do we think?
Whew. I don't know. I can't remember what I rated the other ones.
I can't remember what I rated the other ones either. I think very highly. If I'm gonna go like what I feel when I listen to it in whole, I'm gonna say it's like an 8.7 for me. Like maybe like an 8.9, 8.7. I'm gonna like roll it in there. It's very high. I loved a lot of it. If anything, it just doesn't have like there's a tunnel. The wordplay is like turned up to 11. And like there's other stuff going on where she's like experimenting a little bit more. So this is kind of more just like more of like a modern-y, like the rocky kind of thing. Yeah. And for me, it's really, really strong in that department though. 8, 9 just wasn't. I don't know if it was like my favorite one so far, but a great listen and a great suggestion for like the next Lana Del Rey album.
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to review, so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll just agree with you. I'm going to go the same thing, because it's like at this point, it's like that thing where you're like, oh, man, it's kind of hard to throw a rating on this, because it's like I loved it so much. So
are we, at this point, I mean, we are reviewing these like backwardly, so we're not reviewing them in the time, in the moment. There's a bit of reflection. And so it's either, are we fans of Lana Del Rey or are we not? So kind of we've done 3 albums. I think at this point I'm a little bit of a Lana Del Rey stan, if you will.
Yeah?
I definitely feel that coming. All of these, I'm like, this album's great, this album's great, this album's amazing. And the references I throw out with them and how they make me feel always go back to like the classic artists and make me feel in the same regard as that. So I'm a very much at this point Lana Del Rey stan. So let us know if you want another one, we'll do it. If you don't want another one, we won't. So
yeah, for sure, let us know. And yeah, I also agree. I'm Team Lana Del Rey at this point. I've yet to hear anything that I don't like. And ultimately, too, this is her 3rd album from 2014, and I listened to it, and it excited me. You know what I mean? I'm like
almost 10 years old.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, like, and it's exciting. So that to me, that's the whole thing. That's that like, you know, you there's a band that you love that you found out they dropped an album that you haven't heard before. You know, I get that kind of giddy excitement when I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna do another Lana. All right, cool, let's do another Lana. You know, and it's very exciting. And yeah, I'm 100%. I'm a huge fan.
And thank you for like the 3,000 people that watched the other videos and
Yes.
suggested it, because
Yes,
this is
thank
why
you.
we really wanted to do this podcast in the first place, is talk to people and really start a conversation about music and learn about new music and discuss new music and whether we like it or love it. And I'm here for the difference of opinions and all that. So thank you for this wonderful conversation, and to episode 151. It's been a great one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. We really do appreciate all of you. Don't forget, though, to like and comment and subscribe. And yeah, let us know in the comments below. What do you think of this album? And like Luke said earlier, if you have any other, where should we go from here? Let us know. You know, we've done the 3 records, so just you Lana fans, you steer us in the right direction. You let us know what we should cover next. So yeah, until then,
peace and love.
We'll see you next time, guys.